everyone, my name is ZeBirdBrain and today we are talking about Storyboard Pro, but more precisely layers in Storyboard Pro. And more precisely, the layer view. Because I've noticed that nobody knows what the heck that thing is. So I'm gonna show it to you. So the layer view is pretty cool, to handle your layers. Of course, if you're in your camera view or your stage view, you still see these little layers. But sometimes I feel they take too much room. So I tend to tuck them in. And just benefit from having this be in its own view. It's also good because then, depending on which tool I'm using, I still see them in the corner. But what I love the most about it is that it makes it so easy to then select some layers and make them do things with the camera. So for example, here I have this recording screen thingy. If I play my scene, this layer stays attached to the camera, as if it was a camera recording. So if I move my camera around, I can just have it zoom on my character, but this is going to stay in place. This is good if you have a logo or if you have something that needs to be attached to the camera. How do I do this? Super easy. But before that, I just want to give you a little brief overview. So with the layers, we're going to see how to create, duplicate them, bitmaps and vector layers. And I'm also going to show you how to animate the opacity of a layer. So it's going to be very easy. So first, when I have a drawing, how do I attach it to my camera? Super easy. So here I have my different layers, and if you look at them into the layer view, which you can find by pressing on the plus sign and finding layers, it's going to show you this simple view. If I click here, I'm going to see that in layer alignment, I see that there's no alignment. Layer is not aligned with the camera and can be moved freely. It means that if I move my camera, it doesn't follow it, but this one is set to pin to camera. So it aligns with camera plane to follow the camera if moved. And we also have here face camera. So this is going to align with the camera plane. This is very good when you have a 3D scene and you want something to always face the camera. So this is where you click on it. But yeah, so basically it's as easy as just clicking on the layer and then you click on those and it's going to change how it is. So I'm going to show you this from the beginning. At the moment it's not attached to the camera, but if I press this, it's going to be pinned to the camera. So it's going to be very close to it and be in front of everything. If the camera is in front of an object, this thing is going to be in front. And here you have the export to for your layers, so you can also choose to not have it export. Pretty useful. And here for the opacity, this is where you deal with the opacity of a layer. So let's say I want this to be a camera, but when I zoom on it, because it's a style choice, I want the recording thing to go away. I can just click on my record layer, go into my opacity, press on the plus to add a keyframe. You can't see it in the timeline, but you're going to see it here. If I move then my layer and I click on another keyframe and I lower the transparency and I lower the opacity, you're going to see it's going to be transparent. It is a shame you don't see it in the timeline. Maybe you can, but I don't know how. I never really thought about it. There's probably a way. I don't know. But I usually don't care because I can just use these little dots here to move. I mean, if I see my layers is hidden, it's probably because opacity is at 0 and you see it here, so it's not that big of a deal because you see it in real time right there as you move your cursor. So yeah, that's how I move the opacity of my layer, and it's very efficient to do that. And finally, when it comes to layers, you can organize, you can name, you can group them. So I'm going to show you that very quickly. So if I want to rename this layer, I can rename it. I'm going to call it maybe my camera frame. So to do that, you can just either double click it and rewrite the name. You can also right click and go to rename your layer. So I'm going to rename it as my frame, maybe camera frame. Like this. Though I'll be honest, in Storyboard Pro I rarely name my layers. Not that I don't name them, is I will usually have a letter and I'm going to stick to it throughout my scene. Because sometimes, when you're very in a big hurry, you don't always name your layers. Which is not a crime, as long as you're organized. So it is important to name your layers, yes, but it's because it's important to be organized. If you're organized, even though your layers are not perfectly named, then it's fine. So if Z is always A throughout that scene, just make sure she's always A in that scene or something. Because Storyboard Pro is really name sensitive because there's a lot of features that find your drawings across multiple scenes, multiple panels by their name, okay? So you can rename them like this. You can also decide that this is your new default naming. If you do that, you can just name this like this. And then when you go to layer, you can set this layer as default. So then whenever you're going to create a new panel, it's going to use this kind of hierarchy of layers for your next panel. Last but not least, if you want to duplicate your layers and stuff, you can just click on them, and then here you have a button to duplicate your layer. It's going to duplicate it and name it accordingly. Here it's to create a new vector layer. This is to create a new bitmap layer, and this is to group your layers. But the fun thing with groups is that you can select multiple elements, and then if you press on group, it's going to group them. So very nice. And of course, the trash can gets rid of your things. Last but not least, just know that if you set some layers off, you can all delete them automatically using a little script. You can find it into your scripting toolbar. Mine is just hidden in the corner here. If I press on this button to go get some scripts, I'm gonna see that in here I can write delete. And there's one that says delete hidden layers, and one that says delete layers. I'm gonna show you both. So delete hidden layers, if I bring it here, I'll show you, press OK. And now one of the gear is delete hidden layers. If I click there, throughout my whole storyboard, it's gonna delete every layer that was hidden. So be careful when you use it, but to clean up your storyboard, it's pretty cool because then all your layers gets deleted and your scene is much lighter. The other one that was in the list was delete layers. Click here, I add it here. This one is gonna be the second gear. This one is, you can click it and you can choose which layer you wanna delete, and this is gonna delete them across your different scenes. So if in my scene I have multiple layers that is called A1, I can delete all of them in my scene. So in scene A, only one panel has been deleted because it was only one panel. So delete hidden layers and delete layers, pretty useful script. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you again next time for another video. Goodbye!